Hello, everyone, and welcome back to DWG TV. I'm Hannah, and today I am joined by Will Weatherly. He is the digital brand manager at Riggs Partners here in Columbia, South Carolina, and he is also the president of the American Marketing Association Columbia chapter. So we're really excited to have Will here today to share his insight on networking and just continually learning and how that can really impact your professional development. So Will, if you just want to take a second to introduce yourself, share a little bit about who you are, what you do, all that good stuff.
Yeah, thrilled to be here. Thanks so much for having me on to represent AMA Columbia. As a professional networking organization and one of many in the Midlands, sometimes it's easy to wonder what we do differently. And with the American Marketing Association, we are all about making smarter marketers in the Midlands. We're a group of people that really geek out about marketing. It's not for us just a job. It's something that we really enjoy learning the strategy of and the tactics of. So our hope is that every time you come to an AMA meeting, you walk out smarter and better at being and doing marketing.
Yeah, awesome. So what has your journey looked like to get you where you are today? Not only at, well, both at Riggs Partners and as well in AMA. Like, what path did you take to get into marketing?
A very roundabout one.
Okay.
As many marketers I've learned over the years do. My background was actually in architectural design. So, built environments. That was my path. And yet what I've found is really interesting is that I never would have predicted that an architectural design degree followed by some time in the entrepreneurial space with a startup company that grew across the Southeast, that I would have learned marketing was the thing I liked the most. Wouldn't have expected that, but surprised to find that so much of what I experienced school, where you're learning about how different things come together to form a unique, cohesive, and strong whole, works just as well in marketing. The ability to understand how data from digital ads translate to data on a website, translate to meaning about what you're trying to tell or communicate to your audience. All of that is this process of thinking in a very multi-dimensional way. And it's something that is exactly what we were taught in architecture school, yet I never would have thought that I'd be architecting marketing campaigns instead of houses and buildings. Yeah,
that's a super interesting perspective, and cool that you came from that kind of background, but it all kind of ties in together.
It did. Like I said, I would have never predicted it. It's been a really great ride. And my intro to the marketing field, as you pointed out, was through Riggs Partners, an agency here in Columbia, about 32 years old, and one that has evolved over the years from an advertising boutique to a creative marketing consulting firm. So much of our work begins in the brand strategy space for firms that are trying to craft a new direction for their company. And we go through that process, and my role specifically is to then take those strategies and turn them into digital marketing plans and systems.
Yeah, very cool. So I know you touched on it a little bit high level, but can you share, dive a little bit deeper into what AMA Columbia does, how you first got involved, what that looked like, and how you've kind of navigated your way up to being president?
Sure. AMA Columbia was started by a few individuals actually based out of the marketing department at the University of South Carolina. And those founding members are still involved today, and yet that was some 5-6 years ago now at this point. And the reason they started AMA Columbia was they were from markets working on brands like Crayola and Chiquita Banana and big name brands in these larger cities, And AMA was the gold standard for marketing community in those larger cities. Well, when they moved to small town Columbia, South Carolina, and yet growing small town Columbia, South Carolina, they found that that same pool of marketers was not as readily available, and there wasn't as much content on marketing strategy as they might have liked. So they started AMA Columbia on a lark. Instead of driving to Charlotte or Charleston to participate, they said, why not Columbia? Now, 5 years later, those of us who were in that founding board have built what we're really happy with to be a great group of marketers and people who love marketing, whether they do it by profession or not. My specific role, I mean, I started with setting up events and keeping minutes and submitting them to nationals. But it was after a few trips to the national organization's headquarters in Chicago, which for our board members, we're often able to offer that opportunity as they participate in national and regional retreats. It was seeing that environment and connecting with the group at large across the nation of AMA leaders. Let's do this. Let's give it a try. And it's been a really neat experience to work with such a cool team of board members. We have titles like president and president-elect, but the reality is we're all working together towards the same vision.
Yeah, absolutely. How have you found that being part of that organization has helped you, not only from a professional perspective, but also personally?
Sure. When you work in marketing or any profession, but especially marketing, you get into a routine of doing marketing the way your company does. What type of business you are, whether you're working on a single product or single service, or you're an agency like both of us, in fact. Mm-hmm. You still get into these grooves and patterns of thinking about how to do marketing well that certainly work oftentimes, but a lot of times what you're missing out on is the exposure to how to do marketing in different ways.
Yeah.
And the context that that can provide to make your plans and the way you do marketing smarter.
Right.
So the biggest benefit of being in an organization like AMA, and the thing that I certainly get the most out of it on a leadership standpoint, is just the ability to interface with other brilliant marketing minds in the Midlands. We really do have those here in Columbia, and you'd be surprised at just how much experience and exposure some of the folks right here in Columbia have when it comes to doing very high level, very intricate, very smart and strategic marketing. And we're trying to bring more exposure to that. But for leaders of the organization, I think our biggest enjoyment is the ability to get that exposure to different ways of thinking about how to do marketing well. Yeah. And that would be sort of the biggest benefit, but I would say a corollary to that too is getting to stretch muscles you might not otherwise be able to stretch.
Sure.
Anyone that's participated on a board knows that you get to interact with people that you don't necessarily interact with on a daily basis. And so the ability to work with different types of people coming from different types of perspectives with different talents and different personalities, I think really rounds you out as a professional and makes for a very important part of any professional's development.
Right. So going off of that, what kind of professionals are a part of AMA? Is it purely marketing professionals? Are there people with different kinds of backgrounds? And if they are of a marketing background, is that agency, corporate? What does that look like? How would someone know if they would be a good fit for the organization?
Yeah. I said it earlier, if you geek out over marketing, you're in the right place. If your job title doesn't have the word marketing in it, don't worry. We don't bite and we won't kick you out. If you hate marketing, I wouldn't recommend coming. You know, if you're the type that has every possible ad blocker on every possible device and marketing to you is evil and bad and something that should not exist, you'll be a little uncomfortable in our meetings, I'm afraid to say. But if you like marketing, if you do it for a living, or you just would like to learn how to do it better, because what we consistently find is even those professionals who come to our events that don't do marketing as a profession, the thing they walk away from is the realization, or from an AMA meeting with, is the realization that, call it what you want, at the end of the day, communicating to other people, be it individuals or large groups of people, is the way that life and civilizations and projects move forward. Marketing, in my opinion, is just how you craft a message that you want to be understood by someone else.
Right.
And the media with which you deliver that message.
Mm-hmm.
Those two things combined make for marketing at the end of the day, in my opinion. We welcome anyone who thinks that learning more about how to do those two things is important to them.
Sure. So you seem to have a lot of experience in marketing and, interacting with other kinds of professionals that may think differently than you when it comes to marketing. And then you've just kind of put yourself out there and allowed yourself to absorb a lot of information. So along the way, what is the best piece of career advice you've received?
Wow, that's a big one. Probably the thing I like the best is not something I received directly, but heard in a podcast by Mark Cuban.
Okay.
One time of Shark fame, Shark Tank. And his comment was, follow your interests. And I think that's really strong.
Yeah.
Marketing has become a field that is extremely diverse and is becoming more fragmented and specialized every month, it seems like, with new tools and tactics, opportunities opening up with what the digital landscape has done. So for young marketers, or even old marketers, or mid-career marketers like myself, I say, follow your interests. Marketing can be a lot of fun, but you have to be doing the things that jazz you up. And that's the thing that'll keep it fresh and keep it fun. So follow your interests.
Yeah, that's really good, especially knowing you came from your architecture background and you followed your interests and ended up where you are now.
Nailed it.
So what would you say to someone who may be interested in joining an organization like AMA Columbia, but is kind of nervous about that, kind of putting themselves out there in that kind of situation, networking? What would you say to them? Is it as scary as some people may think to kind of put themselves out of their comfort zone? And, networking can be a scary term to some people.
Right. Well, there's the networking component, and then there's the membership component.
Right.
And those are two different things. For the networking component, I would say something that one of our, interestingly, we're about to kick off October, which is our mentorship month, where we as a professional chapter find ways to help and assist the AMA student chapter that exists at the University of South Carolina. And the thing that we always hear from those students is that it takes a lot of practice and exposure to get to a place where you're comfortable having, their words, adult conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, maybe that's the mistake, is thinking that you have to be perfect.
Right.
A lot of networking, in my opinion, is just going and being interested, not trying to be interesting. We've all heard that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good rule,
Go
and ask a few questions, and before long, you'll be surprised what can happen. We've had jobs get landed at AMA meetings in the past. And it's that sort of environment we want to cultivate, where people are bumping up to each other, talking about marketing, and all of a sudden, you never know what can happen. As for membership, there's two ways to be involved with the AMA. One is just to attend a few events a year. And I would say 75% of our population that we try to serve here in the Midlands just attend a few events a year, and the education component that they want, and they make a few connections if they need them, and they've enjoyed what we have to offer, which is better smarts when it comes to marketing.
Yeah.
That's a great way to be involved, and we love people that are participating in that way. If you want more than that, here is the membership component. You can join the AMA, but you're not just joining AMA Columbia. When you join the AMA, you are joining the premier network for marketers in the nation. Which means you could go to any city in the US, LA, Austin, Chicago, New York, Boston, pick it, and walk into an AMA meeting as a member and be welcomed with open arms and get the same experience that we try to create here in Columbia. On top of that, you get access to the wealth of online content that exists at ama.org. And between the webinars, white papers, publications, tools, templates, strategy walkthroughs, etc., you're getting a lot for that membership. And it just depends on where you are and what you're trying to do. For everyone, we typically recommend come out to an event once or twice before you join, so you get a feel for what the local events are like.
Right.
But if you want to look at membership, I would say go online to ama.org, browse around, and see if you think the type of content there is content you need. I get webinars in my inbox every week, and they are the cutting edge techniques and tactics and academic thinking in the space. And for me, that's the big value of the membership. For some, it may be the travel component that I mentioned previously. You're trying to do business development around the Southeast or larger parts of the nation. The ability to drop into any AMA meeting and have open arms waiting for you is a big deal.
Awesome. Yeah, you had a lot of good stuff in there. One thing that you said that is, I think, really impactful for some people to kind of shift their perspective is thinking you don't have to come in and know it all. That's the whole point of networking, is because you don't know it all. Nobody does. And you're all learning by bouncing ideas off of each other. Also very cool that you can kind of choose your level of involvement. It can be as minimal or as invested as you want it to be. Then also that location aspect that you pointed out. If you ended up moving away from the Midlands, you still have that security within your industry to have other marketing professionals you can kind of plant your roots there in another city or state or whatever it may be. So lots of good info in there.
Absolutely.
Do you have any other tips for young marketers, old marketers, anything like that, when it comes to networking and kind of carving out time to continually learn and refine your craft?
Well, it's an ongoing experience. You know, that's one of the benefits of being in a space like marketing, is that the practices and craft never stops evolving. And for some, that's tiring and causes burnout. And for some, that's the reason they're in this space. So you have to at least recognize that marketing is ever changing and constantly evolving. So the tools and tactics and techniques are always morphing. However, I would suggest that the foundational knowledge sets that you need to be a great marketer are fairly fixed. The platforms on which every marketing tactic is stacked is all about people and psychology and how to communicate. So when it comes to carving out time, you could read 150,000 emails, attend 20,000 webinars, download 100 white papers, and write a blog yourself if you need to. Like, there's endless ways to get and consume content.
Right.
But the reality is, for me, your time is best spent some of the best marketing books that are out there and following some of the best thinkers in the space.
Yeah.
And the reality is most of those folks are saying the same thing about marketing that was said 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And if you find that foundation, the tactics can change as much as they need to. Your foundation will be on the right ideas. And if you have those, the rest is just fine tuning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
spend your time on big ideas, big important components of marketing, less on flashy tactics that might be gone tomorrow.
Yeah, that's really good advice. That's great. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Where can people go to learn more about AMA Columbia and just find out more about y'all?
Yeah, amacolumbia.com. We're on every social media network that there is, so it's easy to find us on Facebook or Twitter. We're not doing much Instagramming these days, but the website's probably the best place to keep in touch with us. On the website, we have an email list you can sign up for to make sure you don't miss any of the upcoming events, which happen on the second Tuesday of every month. That's our target date. Moving into the spring of 2020, we'll be and evening workshops, which is a new format we're exploring, where instead of just coming, having a plate of snacks and then sitting in an auditorium style seating, hearing a speaker talk, we're going to experiment with some more hands-on, interactive workshop style events where quite literally you can learn on the go and you will, no question, have left smarter.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today and your insight. It was great having you on DWG TV.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much, Hannah.
Yeah, thank you, Will.
Look forward to staying in touch.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you got some value out of this conversation. Be sure to like and share this video, and be sure to follow along with us on social media to find out when we're going live next. Bye, y'all.